Okay, these read a
Holy
little bit more.
shit.
Now that I'm okay.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Holy shit. I'm so passionate about equipping women to navigate like dating landscapes as like a mature, capable adult, because I actually think that we've absolutely infantilized women. And I think we always have. Like, I think historically we infantilized women. And it's like this weird, like, actual patriarchal, like, view of women that it, like, feels like we're, like, weirdly holding on to. And I don't understand why. Because I think, like, the reality is that it's not saying that you aren't a victim of actual circumstances. It's saying, honestly, if you're not able to, like, say the word sex, or if you're not able to say, like, hey, these are my boundaries and I'm not okay with it, maybe we should just evaluate certain circumstances to make sure you stay safer. Like, how do we do that? Because casually, like,
don't have casual sex.
Yeah, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. And if you want to, there, like, that's what we have to talk about. Is like we've been like so as a culture, like so like rah casual sex, and it's like sure, whoever you want. I don't give a shit. But
okay, final question, the edgy one to round out the night. You said that you caught some of my earlier conversations that I was having today. Do you have any strong opinions?
Oh man, anything specifically? I caught like, so I'm gonna be honest. I was painting and trying to get like the rectals done and everything. So I got like 5 minutes of scream raging, and I was like, I'm already kind of anxious for this talk today. I need to not. And I think somebody actually sent me a message. What did they say? It was one of my followers. They're like, Destiny's debating about this. What did they say?
I'm pro-rape at the moment, so I was just curious if you were anti-rape or pro-rape. But...
Destiny basically victim blamed today. Are you okay with that, or are you going to read this and then not respond? I think is what somebody.
There's only one type of deal.
had said.
Okay.
Is that true? That you're.
There's only
what
one
had you
type
said
of deal.
actually?
Okay.
Okay, wait, hold on. Come back from the computer, okay? We don't have to look at actual tweets, okay? I can paraphrase.
Sure.
Okay. There might have been some questionable phrases like retarded children thrown around in there, okay? But we don't have to worry about the specifics of the tweets, okay?
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Real quick, let me set the stage, okay? So, I feel like I'm going to say in the late 90s, early 2000s, because this is my whole fucking life, because I'm only 33. Are you taking notes, or are you looking at Twitter?
I'm typing something, and I'm trying to figure out, is there any chance I could get you to consent to pause for 2 minutes? I've needed to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you're good.
I've been
go
streaming for 6 hours.
Yeah,
so.
You don't need to ask my permission, okay? By the end of this conversation, guys, she's going to be pro-rape as well, okay? I'm a master debater. I can get everybody to move over to the pro-rape side of Twitch, apparently. I got to go delete all my tweets real quick. Hold on. What do you think about therapy in person versus video chat? I've actually thought a little bit about it recently. I'm not sure. I think that video chat might actually be better, but I don't know. I think that if it's like a dating or romantic thing, I want to see people in person, because that I get a way more holistic sense of who they are by interacting with them in person. I wonder if having a video chat provides some level of separation that lets you understand like a therapist-patient relationship better than like fooling yourself into thinking your therapist is your friend. Or maybe it's the case that your therapist needs to be your friend for any good therapy to happen. I don't know. I don't think about that more. Hey, what's up?
Hey. Do you want? Did you delete all your? I have a wireless headset, just so you know, so I can hear everything while I'm walking around. I just have my mic muted because nobody needs to hear that.
I don't really get anything too stupid.
No, you just said I'm gonna delete all my tweets.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna look them up, so it's fine.
I think that especially through the early 2000s, and then prior to this, the way that a man has sex with a woman is the goal is like you're kind of like a hunter or a trapper, and you're kind of getting the woman to make all the wrong steps while you're like getting her in the perfect position so that you can do the sex to her. That's like the goal of like how it works.
Right.
So I'm gonna take a person out, hopefully get them a nice dinner, hopefully get them to drink a bit, maybe get them to go back to my place, get them in a room, and I want to get them to a point to where I don't. But the goal is you get the girl to a point where she can't say no at this point. It has to happen, you know?
Right.
That seemed to be like the way that we would operate. I would argue that in a way, I think it's easy to say this is kind of like rape culture. The goal is
rapey.
Yeah, you're push, and when I finally broke it down all the defenses, I could finally get in.
Yeah.
I think that it's a really bad way of going after sexual interactions for a wide variety of reasons. I talk a lot about on my stream that like negotiating consent before any sexual interaction is really cool. Negotiating consent during sexual interactions can be tough for a variety of reasons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that I feel like we never move in a good direction. I feel like the pendulum just swings so far in the other way sometimes. That I agree that, okay, past all that shit, okay? Hold on. I don't want people to say that I'm misrepresenting what I said. So if somebody links me my original tweet, I'll read it. But basically,
Oh, that's what Dylan was talking about, that you had a spicy tweet that everyone's getting all dramatic.
Oh, no. It was spicy tweets. There were a lot of them, okay? I was real mad. I get really upset because 85% of the people that talk about sex on Twitter are fucking virgins.
Terrible.
And I can tell by the way they type in it.
Everyone's terrible.
Everything, right? But the thing that irritates me the most is that I'm about to borrow so much verbiage from conservatives in the early 2010s, and I never thought I would do this, and it sucks to do this. But have you ever heard of the concept of like the bigotry of low expectations?
Yes.
Okay, it's a while ago. That was a super bullshit concept. Yeah. But today, I don't know. Sometimes, where like there are times when, as a woman, I definitely think it can be scary to negotiate certain types of consensual activities in the middle of an encounter. Absolutely, I can empathize with that. But if our default expectation, and this was the debate that I had with Hans today, if our default expectation is that a woman can't even like verbalize a boundary, or if a guy is like trying to break a boundary or whatever during sexual intercourse, if a woman can't even talk, that expectation doesn't exist, then I think we need to take a step back and we need to like stop telling people to have casual sex. Like we need to say like, hey, if the default expectation is a woman can't even like verbalize like, hey, I don't want you to do this during a sexual encounter, if that's what we're going to expect, then we shouldn't have casual sex anymore. Because like, why? That just feels ridiculous to me.
You're gonna get me to get canceled before I even get started.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Let me read the tweet so that you know before you hop onto this, because I want to give you plenty of opportunity to say I do not endorse anything that he said.
I probably don't endorse the way you said it. That's for sure.
That's good. Okay, that's good. So I think the issue is that somebody had tweeted out basically that I want to find. Hold on. I have to find the. Okay. So a person tweeted out, okay? A dude slipped his condom off during sex after I asked him to wear one this week, and it's been bothering me, but it was too awkward to say anything. Not even the first time this has happened. Stop doing this, man. So somebody quote tweeted that, and they said, if you knew he took off the condom and you couldn't even bring yourself to say anything, you shouldn't be having casual sex. Now, I agree with that. Now, a lot of people got mad because I retweeted him, and then my next tweet was, if you are noticing someone is taking a condom off and you can't say anything, you probably don't have the emotional maturity to engage in sex. You should just grab a caretaker or something and stick to masturbating to furry porn. Sorry. And then the next, I'm just giving you the most extreme ones so you know before just why people might be mad or whatever. And then people got really mad that I said that. And then I quote tweeted myself and I said, sorry, I want to apologize for my last tweet. You should treat, okay, these sound worse when I read them, okay? But hold on. Okay, Jesus. Okay. You should treat every single woman you come across like a retarded child who's incapable of voicing an opinion about literally anything. Ideally, you would bring her dad along to every fuck so that he can guide her through the process. That was my, okay. Okay, so now, a little bit spicy, sure. Okay, these are a little bit more spicy now.
Holy shit! Okay. What the fuck, Steven? Okay. Holy shit!
They're a little bit spicy. Okay, a little bit. I would give it a 6 on the 1 to 10 spice meter.
Yeah,
okay?
I'd give it like one spicy pepper out of 3.
1 out of 3. Okay, that's good. Maybe 2 out of 4.
No, it's for sure like fucking maxed out, as spicy as McDonald's goes.
Sure. Okay, but like, holy fuck! Like, if you are noticing somebody's doing something and you can't even like just say one thing, it feels like if that's the default expectation, why are we recommending anybody have casual sex? It sounds like everybody's just gonna get raped.
Okay, so
Go.
Okay, I'm so mad at you for bringing this up because I've been fucking thinking about this shit for so long. It started on TikTok where I saw this chick basically being like, look, like it's not my fault that I like got into this like really terrible relationship. Like I didn't pick them, they picked me. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And then I was like, okay, but really emotionally immature. You can have that out if we are like, yeah, you're just like pretty unwell, and so it's like fair enough that you can maybe be like, I'm a victim of like basically something that I couldn't resist because I was like not mature enough or whatever. Thank you. But then I like was scrolling. Fuck, I'm gonna sound like such an ass. I'm so mad at you. I expect you to Venmo me, fucking fax me $150 if I get canceled tomorrow.
Oh no.
I was scrolling through her page, and then she has a lot of things like girl boss, girl empowerment, like I'm a strong women, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'm all for empowering women. It's actually like even though like women hate me and think I'm like a pick me half the time, at least on TikTok, I'm so passionate about equipping women to navigate like dating landscapes as like a mature, capable adult, because I actually think that we've absolutely infantilized women. And I think we always have. Like, I think historically we infantilized women. And it's like this weird, like actual patriarchal, like view of women that it like feels like we're like weirdly holding on to. And I don't understand why. Because I think like the reality is that it's not saying that you aren't a victim of actual circumstances. It's saying, honestly, if you're not able to like say the word sex, or if you're not able to say like, hey, these are my boundaries and I'm not okay with it, maybe we should just evaluate certain circumstances to make sure you stay safer. Like, how do we do that? Because casually, like,
don't have casual sex. Yeah,
that's a pretty good rule of thumb. And if you want to, like, that's what we have to talk about. Is like we've been like so as a culture like so like rah casual sex, and it's like sure, fuck whoever you want. I don't give a shit. But we've had major sexual assault like problems come out of this, like major sexual assault, major consent problems, because consent is a fucking mess, right? I'm just so frustrated by this.
And then the issue is that like and I will admit that I engage with these in relatively spicy ways, okay? But I've been like a huge advocate historically on women that have like weird issues. Like we talk a lot about consent, and I give a lot of advice on the guy side for like ensuring the safety of the person you're with and how all these things. But the frustrating thing is that like it always feels like everything has to come from the male side because women have to be treated kind of like retarded children. Like, if I ever say anything related to the agency of the woman's side, it's basically shut the fuck up. If a man is there and decides he's going to do something, by God, that woman is going to sit there and fucking take it, because she's going to have a freeze up traumatic reaction response if she sees the guy do literally anything that's not like coinciding with her expectation of the sexual, like, and then the words get thrown around. And it's like, do I think that, like, you're familiar with the concept of stealthing, right? The taking off the condom. Oh, it's like taking off your condom during sex. Yeah. Okay. Which is like, I don't know what word I would use for it, but it's absolutely fucking horrible.
Horrible.
Like, it would be like if I was giving advice to a friend, that would be an absolute deal breaker. Like, you would never see that person again, because what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's fucked up. Yeah, it's just like violating consent as much as possible in the sneakiest,
there's no
slimiest
coming
way.
back from that. STDs, potential pregnancy, like, just respect for what you want, right? Yeah. But it feels like, and I feel like every time I get into these things, whenever I'm giving advice from the woman's side, it feels like I have to type up a 7-page story. I was like, okay, guys, I just want to clarify my position. I am anti-rape. Don't rape women. Men shouldn't rape women. It's not the woman's fault. But like, it feels like if I ever talk about like, okay, as a woman, you should be able to tell a guy during a sexual encounter, hey, I'm not okay with that. And oh my God, why are you victim blaming? Why are you making this about her? It's the man's fault we're doing. And it's like, and then my response afterwards is like, if you genuinely feel like you can't do this, you shouldn't be having casual sex. Like, it's really simple.
It's really dangerous. And this isn't about being like, you're a bad woman for having casual. Obviously you're not. The problem is that like, there's something going on that is causing you to be put in these really dangerous situations. And why wouldn't we advocate for you to like be as safe as possible? Like, I totally understand these women. Like, I didn't engage in much casual sex at all because I had fucking panic attacks when men tried to kiss me. So like, obviously I'm not going to like go beyond that. I mean, my panic attacks were like, you know, ending the engagement on their own pretty easily. But like in that situation, like it's like, of course you want to like think about how to keep it safe. It's like there's no conception in this dialogue, especially around sex, right? It's like, it's so weird because like Christian land was so uppity about sex that we couldn't really talk about it because they're like, sex is bad, and like unless it's in missionary, it's bad, basically, right? And it feels like our culture has done this like aggressive snap to the other side where we still can't talk about sex. Like, not really, not the like like we can talk about like sex positions and all these like kinky things, but we can't talk about the fact that like a lot of times it takes two to tango, and it's not about saying like one person's bad and one person's good, or one person isn't perfect. If somebody fucking stealths, that's gross. That's super gross. And as a woman, you should say something. You should absolutely say something.
But it feels like we somehow horseshoed our way back to this position where it's like when two people are having sex, like everything it's a lot for both people.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody is like very empathetic to the woman's side. Like, obviously women are fragile, docile, demure creatures that are just too stupid to say or do anything. But like men are the ultimate, like, you should be in control of your emotions. You should be in control of your erections. You should be in control of the sexual encounter. You're keeping your horniness under check. Like, men can be the absolute domain of this like stoicism where you approach the situation in such that like, I am here to penetrate you and I'm going to be in control of everything the whole time. And it's like, men could just as easily fuck up during encounters too, right? Like maybe she said something like, oh, like, I don't know if I'm wet enough. And you heard like, oh, well, fuck, maybe she wants to take the condom off, and you do something. You shouldn't, and it's stupid and it's dumb. But like you said, like sex shouldn't be happening to one person and from the other. Like, it's a two-person thing that requires two mature people to have some sort of back and forth. And there might be times in a sexual circumstance where somebody is pushing on a boundary or even trying to beg around it, where the other person needs to say like, hey, don't do that. And you should feel like you have the ability to do that. But everything is so fucking hyperbolic. And it's like the response is like, that guy might fucking murder me then. And it's like, damn, dog, are you approaching every casual sex with like, this guy's gonna fucking kill me if I say anything? It's like, if that's the case, why are we telling so many people to have casual sex?
Yeah, don't sleep with them. If you think there's a chance, if you think genuinely, if there's a chance that if I say no to this guy, that he's going to strangle me, why the fuck are you going into a private space alone and having sex with him? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
and this isn't to say that murdering women is good.
But that's what it sounds like you're blaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people were responding to me, it's like, Desi, you don't understand. She made other tweets. Like, one of the other tweets, like, this has happened to me like 3 times before and I was raped. And it's like, oh my God, stop fucking, like, go back to the drawing board and like think for a moment. Like, okay, well, hold on. Because something in your strategy here is not working. Okay. Something is misaligned. Yeah. But yeah, it's so hard to push on the other side at all without like victim blame, like pro rape.
I know. I made like one TikTok talking about how like it would be wise for women to learn how to reject men in like a palatable way. And and I didn't say like just be super nicey nice and never say no. Obviously. I'm literally talking about rejecting men and being like, hey, like, just to be clear, like when you treat men like creepers and like really fucking psycho when they're like approaching you and just asking like for your number and stuff, like that really sucks. What if they have ASD? Like, people with autism might not even be reading your cues, and then you're treating them like this psychopathic freak when they're just like, I just didn't realize certain things, right? And like, man, the amount of like comments I've had to respond to have been like, oh, well, you're basically just saying that women should put their actual life in front of men's fifis. And I was like, who's saying that? Also, to be clear, it is not casual encounters that are killing women. It is domestic partners that they have been with for a long time. That's who's assaulting and killing women by and large. That's the stats, right? And so it's like,
I think that's another huge misunderstanding too of like, and it's, again, I hate the fact that like rape means so much. It's such a broad, like if somebody tells me they were raped at this point, like it could mean something like one of the worst things ever, or it could be like not really that big of a deal at all. And it's like, it's like, or like even the stealthing, like something that's shitty or that's horrible, like that shouldn't happen, never see that guy again. But like, this isn't like, there's a huge spectrum of experiences. But it feels like to, this idea that like, like we just have to do everything we, oh God, fuck. You mentioned the thing about like putting yourself before the male. Oh shit! Sorry, I just remembered. Oh god, the male. I've heard that line before, and it triggers the fuck out of me. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're so upset that like I care about my life more than your fucking feelings. Like, bro, you're not out here on the fucking in like Fallujah battling in Iraq. Okay, Jesus Christ, calm the fuck down.
And
Not
like,
to say that there
why
isn't
are you going to
any danger.
nightclubs if that's the risk? Like, literally, why are you doing that? Because I certainly
Yeah,
fucking
you
wouldn't
like
be
the
going.
rape capital. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a big misunderstanding about where like a lot of rape and where like a lot of like fucked up sexual encounters come from too.
Yeah.
Where like people think of like when you think of how does the average rape happen, it's a guy trying to roofie a girl and then drag her body off somewhere, and it's like that's not usually what's happening, right? Like I think, and maybe I'm getting a little. I don't want to say anecdotal because it sounds like I'm raping people. That's not what I mean. But the feeling that I have about a lot of this is that like most like kind of like rapes or unwanted sexual experiences are probably like from guys that are just trying to push it as far as they can, and then they're not getting no's, and then they kind of go for it and they get it, and the girl doesn't feel comfortable saying no or whatever. Like I think that this is where the majority of these types of sexual encounters come from, and that's not to excuse it or say that it's good. It's not. That shouldn't happen. But when our understanding of men is that, well, rapes are when a guy decides that he's going to fucking rape that girl and murder her if she says no. It's like, well, that misunderstanding is leading you to give really bad advice to people. Like, if you're a woman and a guy is pushing, don't say anything. He might fucking murder you. That's incredibly rare. I think that the vast majority of guys, if you say, hey, no, I don't like that, like some of them might be dicks about it, but I don't think the majority of them, like it's going to be like less than 1% are going to be like, fuck you, I'm holding you down, I'm going to do this regardless. Most will probably fuck off.
Yeah, and they might call you like a couple names, which is shitty, like it's garbage, and we can call out men for like saying like don't be shitty and garbage when people reject you, right? But yeah, I think so. There are some scary stats, right? Like most sexual assault encounters occur when both the perpetrator and the victim are drunk, right? So that means both the victim is struggling with
Are
inhibitions,
inhibited.
and the perpetrator is inhibited.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have patchy memories. So the perpetrator claims absolutely, I swear there was at least implied consent. And then the victim claims abso-fucking-lutely not. I wasn't interested. And the problem is that both of them might be right. Right? That's the issue. That's the issue we're running into, which is why it's like, maybe, like, I don't actually believe this, but it's like, maybe the Puritans have it right. Like, maybe that's why we should just, like, save sex to, like, very, very intimate, long-term relationships, because it at least reduces, like, these types of specific issues, because this isn't to say that when somebody feels like they've been sexually assaulted, right? That's, regardless of what happened, that is a very distressing thing, right? But the problem is that like the way that we go, like it's like this, it's like the pedophile conversation, right? It's like if we can contribute things that are going to reduce the likelihood of that, isn't that what we want? And if some of that is teaching women how to say no, or saying, hey, just so you know, not saying no is usually more dangerous than just like being passive and not knowing what to do. It's very unlikely that he's going to attack you, right? It's much more likely that he's going to like leave, maybe call you a bad name, which sucks, but it's a lot better than being like assaulted because you just didn't say anything, right? Oh, I feel like that.
Yeah.
This whole conversation is just opening up such a big can of worms that it's like, it just feels like our society is not ready to handle this. Like we are not ready to have the conversation because we mishandled sexual assault, particularly towards women, by like power dynamics, especially like all the Weinstein shit. We mishandled it so bad for so long that there's no social will for any more nuance, because it's just like, nope, believe victims. They're victims. They're kind of like the holy victim. And don't fucking talk about what they could have done to keep themselves safe. It's not their fault. And I get it, because victims blame themselves, right? So this is like where it comes from. Like a lot of victims engage in self-guilt, and it's like, how do we have the conversation of being like, it's not about saying that you're bad. It's about saying, how do we protect you from this happening in the future?
But any amount of agency all of a sudden becomes responsibility, which becomes fault. There's like that. It's like, it's not even a slippery slope. It's literally like a fucking sheer cliff that you drop off.
Yeah.
And there's no other situation in society where you could where the implications are the same. Like if I leave my car in a neighborhood and it gets broken into because I leave all my windows open, like we can talk about responsibility there. Blah, blah. And some people might even blame you there, actually. Like there are times where people will actually defend fault. But but the sex thing becomes so crazy. One thing that upsets me too, when you mentioned that phrase power dynamics, is like, there are a lot of power dynamics at play when it comes to sexual interactions, but it feels like people only want to look at a couple of them, namely the ones where the man has the imbalance of power. But like as the traditional like gatekeepers of sex, like women definitely represent like a big imbalance of power as well, and that like oftentimes it is the man that's pushing way fucking harder, and that woman does have something that the man definitely wants. Not to say, they have the caveat, rape is bad, but like there's definitely like an imbalance there, and that the man is willing to go like really far, do like some crazy shit or whatever sometimes in order to go after the sexual gratification that they give a woman, and like that thing can make people do really dumb things as well. I remember logs that I saw a long time ago that made me really angry, and it was complicated. There was an Overwatch player who was 19, I think, and he was sexting with a girl who was 16. So
Ooh,
young
yeah,
and
young, but
bad, he probably shouldn't do it. But man, dude, this girl's, first of all, I don't know if it's just because I'm 33 now. Like, even when I was like 25, god damn, I was so fucking stupid. Holy shit. But I can't imagine like 19. This girl had logs coming out where she was saying shit like, if this guy like ever fucks me over, like I can ruin his life. And it's like, damn. I know that the guy's 19, which technically makes him older, age of majority and shit, but like he's like a stupid 19-year-old nerdy kid. Like there is a huge power dynamic here. One of the best ways I'm gonna stumble into something that'll trigger the fuck out of you, but maybe not. Maybe we disagree on this. One of the biggest ways that I see that power dynamic exploited is guys that are kind of like, I'll say, perpetually friend zoned. So there's a guy that really
yeah.
wants a relationship with a girl. Girl kind of knows it, and then she kind of exploits that power differential to get him to do things or be friendly or be a shoulder to cry on or like get all this other support. Yeah, like people, it's irritating that the infantilizing happens on the woman's side and all the agency is presented to the man when the man might be inhibited in some ways as well. Not to excuse any of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the issue is like there's no nuance to talk about this. There's no space for it. There's no like will to address the imbalance that is happening towards men for lots of reasons, right? Like MRAs fucked that shit up like hardcore, right? Like
Yeah.
there's lots of reasons why there's like no will for it, but the problem is that like we're missing like a large part of the equation by not talking about it. And I kind of talk about in another video that I did, this like issue of men being in kind of this catch-22 where it seems like men are expected to be like damn near perfection, like emotionally mature, stoic, but in touch with their emotions. So we don't mean stoic in like the cringy way of being like, oh, I'm just a rock, but being like stoic in like I engage in my emotions, but I don't just buckle to them, right? I respond to them. And we want them to be like decently attractive, and we want them to be tall, and there's all these things that like we expect of men, especially emotionally and sexually. And they're probably like, we socialize them and parent them to be the least capable at doing these things. Like, what do we do to men? Like, in general, we say like when children are growing up, boys broadly tend to externalize their emotions. So when they're sad, they're more likely to want to throw shit. They want to stomp their feet, tantrum. You have a son, so I'm sure you've like probably seen this firsthand, right? Whereas girls generally tend to internalize. They cry, they curl up, they kind of like want to hug, stuff like that, right? They get really like anxious and scared. And the problem is that like our society, has very much painted like externalizations as just like bad forms of emotion and emotional expression. The reality is like you have to express emotions at some time. It's about like teaching children how to do it appropriately. And so like we've got a bunch of boys that we've said like, hey, I know you're feeling sad, but if you're feeling sad and you're gonna throw shit around, go the fuck to your room and leave me alone and deal with it on your own, right? And that's not how you actually teach children to regulate. You have to co-regulate with them. You actually have to teach them how to get through their emotion. And so I think like by and large, we've like socialized lots of men to be like probably the least capable to like navigate their emotions, to like be the most emotionally available. And yet we're like expecting this standard of them. It feels like we're in this like weird like situation where we mostly want modernity as far as certain values, but damn, we love some traditional values a lot that particularly benefit women, and we're not fucking letting go of those for the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Like if that, like you can't have your cake and eat it too sometimes. Like that's the thing, is like as you gain certain like privileges, there are responsibilities that often come with it. And I'm pro all the privileges that I think women have. Like I'm pro those things. But with that comes like you have to be a capable adult. Like you have to engage as an emotional being. You have to take responsibility for your own feelings. You have to voice what your needs are. You have to voice what your boundaries are. And it just feels like there's no space in this conversation, because then you're just like a pick me or a victim blamer or like whatever else they're gonna throw at you.
So would you agree then that society sometimes seems to treat women like retarded children?
I will never agree to that statement.
Okay, just checking. I was just quoting something on Twitter now. Those aren't my words, but
Yeah, he sounds like an agitator.
maybe. Um, I don't know if you've had a lot of experience in public speaking, or
A
like speaking
lot.
on a public platform, I should say.
No, public
Um,
speaking, lots.
Yeah, that what you mentioned about MRAs, it's so annoying to have arguments on either side of this because like, man, people want to take what you say. Like if I ever tweet shit out like, man, women need to have more agency in sexual encounters or whatever, like the types of people that are agreeing with you are saying shit like, yeah, like women go out in mini skirts and expect men not to rape them. Like, how stupid are you? And it's like, okay, hold on, that's not what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, Jesus Christ,
Right.
Yeah, it's like everybody's, yeah, fuck.
It's
It
like
feels
this.
like all of the conversation around consent is literally just like we need to figure out how many different ways we can say men shouldn't rape women, and that's basically the extent of like the conversation that you can
And
have.
like,
Like that's all.
we love enthusiastic consent, but what's enthusiastic enough? We'll never know because we don't want to victim blame somebody by saying they weren't quite enthusiastic enough, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cringe. We just have like dog shit takes when it comes to sex, which is why like when people are like, man, like these silly like religious groups, they're so like repressed on sex. I'm like, I mean, I don't know if we're doing it much better. Like it doesn't seem to be the case that we're having much more like intelligent conversations around sex. And it's just frustrating because it means that like people are just going to continue to get hurt on both sides for like forever and ever until somebody's willing to actually like talk about it. And yeah, and it's this optics game of being like, I don't want to be like lumped in with MRIs. I disagree with them, right? I think like people who try to like argue that like I think pickup artists are super slimy, right? They're like this is how you get a woman. Like it's super creepy and rapey and it's very like pushy. But then I hear a woman be like, oh, this man didn't like pursue me hard enough, so that's why I said no to him,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, okay, well, like, what's the narrative that we want to talk about? Probably women need to be calling out other women for saying dumb shit like he didn't pursue me hard enough. Because I'm like, just so you know, you were telling men be a little bit more rapey with me, right? Be a little bit more like aggressive and don't really take my boundaries seriously, which is a terrible thing to tell young men to do.
Yeah, that this is kind of like what I said. Like I've said this in the past that like you shouldn't really be surprised that like every now and then a guy rapes a woman when the onus is on the man to push at every part of the interaction. At some point, people are going to push too much. This is a numbers game. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
The idea that you have to eternally be the one leading into the interaction to move it forward or to escalate it to the next step, but you also have to be perfectly in tune enough to be aware that the child that you're interacting with who is incapable of voicing any contention or saying anything or asserting any boundary or whatever, that person, you have to be aware of all of that. It's like, it's impossible. Like people are going to fuck up over and over and over again. Like that is not a recipe for success.
No.
When you're in those types of situations. Another thing that frustrates me a lot too in regards to these conversations is people are always quick to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So we've talked a lot about Peterson, where I say that like Peterson gives pretty good takes on psychology. Anything he says about politics is cringe. People will see him say anything, and immediately because it's Jordan Peterson, they'll just throw all of it out immediately. Like, oh fuck you, you're totally wrong about everything. Fuck you. And it's like, well, hold on. Like, is he wrong about everything? This happens a lot with like I'll say pickup artist stuff, where pickup artists will give certain advice, and people on the left are like very quick to say, oh no, that's bullshit. That's not. Hold the fuck on. A lot of this shit works really well.
Yes.
So we need to take a step back because when you start saying shit like, oh, like women don't just want a guy that's tall, handsome, and has a lot of money. That's bullshit. Like, excuse me. Every motherfucker can look around and like see the world as it is. Like that's come on. Like let's be honest about what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And I noticed that like you have to meet some of these people on descriptive grounds. Like a pickup artist is going to say some things that are like just correct, and like their analysis of some things is correct, or rather, an observation will be correct, but the analysis will just be super fucked, and everything downstream of it will be super fucked. But you have to like at least be willing to concede at the beginning, like, okay, there are some things that women value, there are some things that men value, right? Like, and we need to be able to have a conversation around these things, because when we pretend that they don't exist, and then you tell everybody it, like, to come up into a, when we talk about creating a society and a conservative or libertarian says, I want to create a colorblind society, everybody immediately says, hold on, there are very real racial inequities that exist in society that we need to address. Right. But when it comes to like things like sex or consent or gender stuff, all of a sudden we want to be genderless. We want to pretend like there's no difference between men and women and we need to treat everybody the same. But that's not the case. Like there are so many differences, whether biological or environmental, they exist. And when you ignore them, like everybody is set up to be like the ultimate fucking failure or rapist or rape victim or whatever.
Yeah, and I would argue, like, to be honest, like this is kind of the bone that I have with feminism is that like a lot of time it feels like radical feminists are like trying to outline this like archetype of what like the modern ideal woman should look like, and the reality is it doesn't actually meet what a lot of women actually want and are like happy with.
There's only one type of
and so we
deal.
get like these like
Okay.
these people who like can't be honest about what they want or what they need because they need to appeal to like what broader society says that they should want and need, which isn't actually what they want and need, right? Like there are some girls who I think like genuinely, and men who would be happy with a very traditional relationship and they would be like content with that, and that's fine. Like that's fucking fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, I like started talking and then I lost it. Oh, the pickup artist. Yes, right. When I said like pickup artists are super cringe, it's because they're like kind of rapey, and the way they approach everything is being like, how many notches can I get? But
Yeah.
they work, right? Men who are good with women get women a lot. Right? This is actually like an issue that we see with dating apps, is that like it seems to be about 10% of men get about like 90% of the women. And so it's like there's something going on here, but like hell, if you like mention like, hey, maybe there's like something there's to learn from a pickup artist, it's like throwing the book at you because you're just like an insensitive bigot who like wants women
Well,
to
and
be
to be clear,
victims.
like the problem is that like a pickup artist will they'll make like they'll make an observation that's true, but the description it's on is really wild. Like a pickup artist might say something like women are attracted to men that have like a lot of money and are far in their career, and that's because women are mindless, successful cock hunting monsters that are only looking to inseminate their womb with the strongest, most alpha male. Like it'll be like, okay, you started off on the right track, but then Jesus fucking Christ, like that's like every PUA shit is it always ends up going too far. But yeah, when you're on the other side and you just pretend like these things don't exist, I think that you lose a lot of people in the middle because they're like, well, hold on, we're looking at things that seem to be real, but yeah, nothing is lining up with what you're saying.
I think the thing is like pickup artists capitalize on like one main thing, which is perceived competence. Like they appear in exceedingly competent to women, and I think women are really drawn and attracted to that, right? And so it's like what we need to do is we need to have like decently healthy men that are really good with women who also know how to form like decently long-term respectful conversations, being the one leading more rhetoric. But it's like those men are like fucking probably like working jobs and have kids and don't give a fuck, right? But like we need to like have these people like making the space and just kind of like changing popular, I mean, you're like the master of like creating like new cultural like waves, it seems, because you were the one who kind of like drew Twitch to the left, and now you're the one drawing like making new space for kind of like the centrist. And so it's like,
I hate that fucking word. Don't say that nasty fucking word. But yeah,
do you want to be called a moderate instead?
we're omniliberals. Okay, we're above and beyond. Okay.
Omniliberals and the face of the enemy.
Oh. Final point. When the fuck are you getting a real microphone? Holy shit. Do you know who Tyler 1 is? That's the mic you're using right now.
I know, it's so bad, hey? Everyone's like, it sounds great. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It sounds terrible. It's ordered. I just need to drive into the city. But I haven't been paid in 2 months by my work. So I am trying to get paid so I can buy gas and then drive into the city and pick it up. I mean, to be honest, let's be honest. That's a cop-out. I have like a credit card, so I could put it on my card. It's just, I've had other priorities.
Okay. Well, I think that's about all I got.
Okay. If you're ever, do you think, I guess here's a question. This is kind of what I'm trying to do, right? I think like the best way to like call out issues around women is probably like, I think having in-group members call one another out is usually more effective, because I don't want to equip women to be like victims and like go back into the patriarchal system. I want to like help women keep themselves safe, have relationships that they want, and enjoy sex and like have the sex that they want, right? I just like think that we need people to talk about it in a different way, because I don't think the rhetoric right now is actually helping.
I agree. Yeah, it's fucked.
But you don't think like a female calling out other women for certain things is going to help, because I'll just
you used that word earlier, right? The pick me thing. So it's always hard, like, because It's so hard because you can be tokenized so easily as well, right? Like,
Yep.
are you going to be the brave woman that calls out other women for unhealthy standards, or are you going to be the new, the woman version of Milo Yiannopoulos or Candace Owens, or now you're the new token figure of like, oh, this woman is base, she shits on other women and realizes that they're the problem. It's like, it's exhaustingly stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating, and I try to do my best to like have that balance, right? If I hear people, even in my like comments, getting too much, I'm like, yeah, women are just dirty sluts who manipulate men. I'm like, whoa, that's not fucking true. And also, men do lots of slimy shit. So like, calm the fuck down, like relax. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just like trying to figure out this Reddit because I think it's like I think it's something that I'm just like passionate about, and obviously like don't become Candace Candace Owens 3-head is like
Yeah.
yeah.
The dream is to get like fuck, I'm trying to find a word besides moderate. But if more like women and trans people could come to Twitch that were a little bit less fucking insane, I think it would be so helpful for those demographics. Yeah, I was surprised. I'm embarrassed to even say it. I think I even said this on stream. When we agreed to talk, and then you showed up on a panel show, and I didn't connect the dots that you were the person I agreed to talk to. And the other girl started talking, and then as soon as you started talking, I rolled my eyes like, okay, we have two ultra far lefty women, because every woman that comes on any of these shows is going to be like an anarcho-communist fucking whatever. And it's like, oh, you weren't. You were more moderate. It's like, oh, that's really refreshing, because every woman, every trans person, every sex worker, like all of these people on the internet, their representation is like the farthest fucking left possible that you can be. And it's like, fuck. Having more moderate representation would probably be really helpful, because I'm like I'm a white guy, and so I'm like the archetypical, like, this is the default person in society. So it sucks when I'm giving my opinions on these things all the time, because I don't want to be the one talking about like what is like the poor black experience like in America, what are the best ways for women to approach consent, like what are the difficulties that trans people have when it comes to getting medication. Like I feel like I'm inserting myself a lot in a lot of these conversations. Like fuck, it sucks that sometimes I feel like other representation isn't here, and I have to step in. Like I wish that there were other moderating voices here, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think my hope is that like there will be more. Like I feel like we're on like the precipice of like actually like like I'm scared of having a snap right. Like I think snap rights are like really dangerous.
You
So
hear the honky boys outside?
I live in a very small town, so
okay.
yes,
I don't know how
all
far you
the
are
time.
from wherever the fucking big truck shit is going. I don't know if they're still out there. That
Oh,
was
in
in
Ottawa,
I think?
very far
The
from
honky boys.
Ottawa. Yeah,
Okay, all
yeah.
right.
Do you know you do know Abba and Preach, correct? Like you've talked with, I think,
Yeah,
Abba.
I think I would say I'm friends with Abba. We talk quite a bit, yeah.
I think like they're a really interesting case study where they like I first of all I fucking love Abba and Preach. Like I've probably watched every video of theirs because they're hilarious. But they're really interesting because I think they do this well, where they like fight back against like certain views that are like way too far left, but they don't become a token to the other side. And it's like,
Yeah.
I just want to
There's
pick their
only
brains
one
and be
type
like,
of
how
deal.
do you do this?
Okay.
Because like I don't want to be a token ever. Like I'm not here to throw fucking other women under the bus and call women dirty sluts who are like just like responsible for their own assaults. Obviously that's not the case, like at all. And I think like it's really hard to be that voice of reason. But I think it's
Yeah,
really
it's really
interesting.
hard not to define yourself as the antithesis of whatever it is that you hate. It
Yeah.
seems like that's a very natural reaction. I disagreed with some of the rationales that they were giving relating to some of the vaccine stuff, but I super appreciated that like they explained their position. I didn't really fully agree with it, but like they didn't go 180 into the other territories. Like this is what I feel. It's like okay, sure, I can respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to find people that do that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just, I guess, like I talked with a really small time trans streamer named Skylar Rain, who is like so wonderful to talk to. You honestly, like I don't know if their pronouns are she and he. They're just the most refreshing. I just loved them. They work in disabilities, so they have
Okay.
an Emmett in Psych, and they're so reasonable and like pretty consistent and solid. Like they were so wonderful to talk to, and I'm just like, get how do we get like individuals like these voices like into better spaces and heard more? Because I think where rhetoric is going is like just like dumb on both sides. On both sides, to be honest.
Okay, true. All right. Anything else?
Nope. Other
Okay,
than
cool.
don't forget to send me a receipt for a session.
Absolutely, I'll invoice you for sure. USD or CAD?
How about like yen or something like that, just so I can like play a little bit with forex.
How about in fucking Bitcoin then? If we're just gonna be exotic. How about we just do some crazy?
Dogecoin or bust.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Listen, I really appreciate the conversation. If anything ever comes up, feel free to poke me. I had the D&D today for 4 hours, so I didn't have a chance to get back to you before the conversation. But yeah, have
No
fun.
worries.
Be careful. Stay safe. Good luck driving into town on your fucking car or whatever and getting that microphone. Okay. Bye-bye.
Sounds good. Okay. Have a good
Bye.
night.